You don't deserve the title of manager. As of today, you're just a regular employee.
The new CEO, Tom, tells my husband, Mark. Mark has been working hard since the days of the former CEO, and I've been watching all that hard work up close. I couldn't just stay silent while the man I love was being treated so unfairly. My name is Julie. I'm 48 years old and have been married to Mark for 20 years. Mark, who's the same age, is a sales rep pushing hard even as he approaches his 50s. He mainly sells construction tools to businesses. Recently, thanks to the DIY trend, more people are tackling projects on their own, and he's even getting requests from companies he's never dealt with before. He always says he can confidently pitch their products because he genuinely believes in them, and he throws himself into sales every day with high energy. One of the things he's proud of is that he once held the top sales record. Although he's handed that spot to his younger colleagues these days, that's mostly because he's cut back on client visits as he's gotten older. He's passed many of his longtime clients to his coworkers and now mainly manages the sales department, handling mostly desk work. Sometimes he even works from home, and it's clear he's putting in a lot of effort. However, I love watching him work with such vitality and joy. Even after 20 years of marriage, my love for Mark is still going strong. I always greet him with a smile when he comes home, hoping to ease his burden a little. I do my best to make our home a comforting place. I'm putting in my best effort for Mark. Lately, though, Mark has seemed troubled. He drifts off, lost in thought, and then lets out heavy sighs. When I ask him what's wrong, he just brushes it off. At one point, I was even starting to worry that maybe he'd found some new romance despite his age. Then one day, he muttered something surprising.
I'm thinking of quitting my job.
What? I asked him why, and he said he hasn't been enjoying work at all recently. Apparently, the company's direction has changed. The CEO position has now been handed to Tom, the founder's son.
The former CEO was great about giving us freedom. He used to say, work is meant to be enjoyed.
Because of that freedom, employees felt they could work freely and effectively. It was a big part of the company's success. Though, Tom doesn't seem to see it that way.
He thinks there's no future for the company if we keep doing things the way we did under his dad. He keeps saying, just listen to me, and I guarantee we'll succeed.
Tom definitely had that vibe of someone who wanted things to go his way, no exceptions.
Even when we try to pitch to clients we know will be receptive, he tells us it's a waste of time. But honestly, it's hard to bring in new contracts even with the usual clients, especially since there's competition. To top it off, he's told me I'm too old school to be giving out sales directives and said I should stick to desk work. He even reassigned some of my oldest clients to younger reps, even though those clients specifically wanted me to stay on as their rep.
Mark let out another deep sigh.
It's like a completely different company now. Honestly, I just want to quit.
Nevertheless, he's nearly 50 and knows it wouldn't be easy to change jobs. We rely on his income, so he feels trapped. Life as a corporate employee can be tough. Seeing Mark feeling so down, I couldn't find the words to comfort him. Despite wanting to leave, he kept pushing forward out of loyalty to the former CEO, who had always looked out for him. Then, things escalated. One day, Mark was later than usual getting home, and I was worried because he hadn't called. When he finally returned, it was the middle of the night. I was about to ask him what happened, but when I saw him at the front door, I was at a loss for words. His face was pale, and he looked so unsteady, like he was about to collapse.
What happened?
Tom messed up and caused the company a huge loss.
What?
Apparently, Tom had taken over the dealings with a major client from the sales department and was handling it personally. Since this client was very important to the company, he probably wanted to assert his authority as CEO by taking charge himself. However, it turns out he made a huge blunder.
We developed a new tool, and he went to demonstrate it at a construction site where they were building a European-style house. He pulled out the tool and tried to use it himself.
Hold on, he didn't let the workers use it? Tom handled it all by himself?
Yeah, he was trying to explain how to use it, so he demonstrated it himself. But somehow, he ended up destroying the main pillar.
What? How on earth does something like that even happen?
That's exactly what I want to know.
Of course, the construction had to start over from scratch. Naturally, Mark's company had to pay for the damages. The client was furious.
Tom agreed to cover the costs, but the client was still fuming. So, he arranged a dinner to smooth things over. And then, Tom got drunk and he ended up pulling off the client's hair.
Excuse me?
He pulled off his hair? Does that mean it was a wig?
You've got to be kidding me.
I'm not. He was laughing and saying something about shining bright.
Mark, on the verge of tears, nodded.
So, I had to go apologize later.
What? Tom should have gone himself. Why did you have to do it?
Because I was the one who initially handled that client. I built that relationship through my visits, and it was always my account.
Maybe it was your account in the past, but now it's technically Tom's responsibility, isn't it? He's the one who acted out of line. I don't see why you should be the one apologizing.
I agree. But he insisted, you handled this account, so you're the one who should go. He wouldn't take no for an answer. So, I went, but then the client got even angrier, asking why Tom didn't come himself.
Well, of course, they'd be upset.
In the end, we lost the deal.
I see.
Tom was furious at me. Today, he spent the whole day blaming me.
Why? That makes no sense.
Tom was truly outrageous. He kept Mark there all evening for a lecture because of his own mistakes? Unbelievable. Looking at Mark's exhausted face, I felt my anger toward Tom rising. It was hard to watch Mark so down. I gently placed my hand on his back.
Listen, it's okay if you want to quit this company. Income might be tighter, but if we really try, I'm sure you can find something else. And I'm here, too. I may be part-time now, but I could go full-time if needed.
Thanks. But when I think about the former CEO,
The former CEO is gone. This company might end up crushing you.
yeah, I know.
Mark still seemed hesitant. However, things were about to take a turn. The former CEO passed away. Due to worsening health, he had previously handed over the position to his son. Despite all efforts to care for him, he passed away in the hospital. At the funeral, many employees reportedly shed tears. Mark must have cried, too. His eyes were red when he returned home. Though, more than sadness, his face looked filled with despair. Apparently, there had been a eulogy at the funeral, given by the son, Tom. Tom declared,
This company has no future with my father's old-fashioned ways. Now that his watchful eye is no longer here, I'm going to do things my way. Those who can't keep up will be cut without hesitation. So be prepared.
I bet everyone there was thinking the same thing, that Tom was the one who should quit. The most incompetent, useless person in the company was Tom.
This company might be done for.
Mark muttered, and it became a reality. One day, he came home and, with a weak voice, said,
It's over.
before collapsing in the entryway. I helped him into the living room and brought him a warm cup of tea. As he sipped it and started to calm down, he began to tell me what happened.
I got demoted.
What? Why?
Mark was the head of the sales department, the longest-serving member there, and had an extensive client list. While Tom had taken away his direct accounts, he was still actively supporting his team with guidance and advice. If something went wrong, he could easily take charge and sort out the accounts. A demotion? Why?
A demotion? You mean you're not a department head anymore? Did they make you a section chief or something?
No, it's worse. I'm now a regular employee.
What?
Tom told me, someone as useless as you doesn't need the title of department head. From now on, you're just a regular employee.
What?
He also cut my pay and said I should be grateful I'm even employed.
What is this nonsense?
He even told me, we'd be fine without you, and I'm far better than you, with my full head of hair, unlike your wig-wearing self. None of it makes any sense.
Is he still harping on the wig incident? What an idiot. You have your own full head of hair.
He even accused me of it being suspiciously thick.
At that, Mark broke down in tears. That idiot, how dare he say that to Mark? For the record, I love Mark, thinning hair or not. Maybe it's Tom who's insecure about his hair.
Every day, he's been constantly needling me with sarcastic comments. I just can't take it anymore.
Mark sniffled, explaining that whenever he was at the office, Tom was always there with some snide remark such as,
Must be nice to just stare at a computer all day, right? What's the point of this, client? Cut them off immediately. Can't you even handle that, you incompetent fool?
Isn't this some sort of workplace issue?
couldn't he take legal action?
If it's this frequent, maybe you should start recording him.
It seemed like it would be easy to gather evidence. However, Mark slowly shook his head.
Filing a complaint is easy. But when I think of what could happen next, if the company starts to go under, I'd feel like I betrayed the former CEO and the other employees. They're good people.
Even though the former CEO had passed, Mark felt a debt of gratitude. He also had a bond with his coworkers. Even though Tom was incompetent and tyrannical, Mark, who still worried about the company, was the man I fell in love with. But come on. I wasn't going to just sit back and accept it. Every day, Mark would leave for work with a pale face. Every day, he would sigh and barely eat. The smile I loved was no longer there. As I saw Mark like this, I couldn't help but think about what I could do. Just then, as I was browsing the newspaper, I noticed something.
Hey, isn't this the company that's right beside yours?
I called to Mark, who was lying on the sofa. He slowly lifted his head and looked at what I was pointing to. In the paper was an article about the company next to his, a competitor in the same industry. His office was located in an area packed with similar businesses, almost like Wall Street. I've always wondered how it works to have so many competitors so close together, but maybe there's something there only the professionals understand. The article talked about how this up-and-coming company was thriving under a young, ambitious CEO. I quickly pulled up their information on my phone and, as I read it, a sly grin spread across my face.
Hey, darling. The company next door seems pretty great.
What?
Mark looked at me, puzzled, and I just gave him a warm smile. He ended up writing his resignation letter. And let me clarify, it was a resignation notice, not a request. If he'd asked for permission to leave, Tom might have used it as a chance to harass him. So I encouraged him to simply announce his departure. Of course, Mark prepared all the necessary handover documents perfectly, whether Tom bothered to read them or not. When Tom saw his resignation, he apparently sneered and said,
"Oh, finally, about time the dead weight leaves. Good riddance."
If he genuinely thought Mark was dragging down the company, he was clearly out of his mind. A few months passed after Mark successfully transitioned to a new job. At first, he wasn't exactly excited, but as he settled in, I could see him slowly becoming more cheerful, and it seemed like he was starting to enjoy his work. Seeing him smile made me happy, too. One evening, I noticed something unusual in his expression when he came home.
Did something good happen to you?
Oh, have you noticed?
Well, after all these years together, I can read his mood just by looking at him.
So, here's the story.
Mark, in a great mood, shared what had happened. As he was working in his new office, he suddenly heard a loud commotion. When he looked up, he saw none other than his old CEO, Tom, fuming and red-faced, storming into the building.
"What the hell did you people do? All my clients are leaving me at once. This is absurd.
When he spotted Mark, he went pale and screamed.
What do you think you're doing, quitting my company and going to work next door? We're in serious trouble now. Get back and start working for us again."
Honestly, what nonsense.
He's being pretty unreasonable, isn't he?
Exactly, that's what I thought too. I left properly and followed all the procedures. Once I quit, he has no right to complain about where I work.
Exactly.
Mark told Tom as much, but he wouldn't accept it.
"Ever since you left, our contracts have been slowly drying up. When I asked why, they told me they couldn't trust my company anymore. They even complained about the quality. What's wrong with the products I designed?"
Well, there's plenty wrong. The products he came up with were completely unappealing and lacked originality. Despite criticizing his father's old-fashioned ways, Tom's ideas were barely tweaks of past products. With all the cost-cutting on materials, what he produced was practically junk.
The whole team was against it, but I was convinced it would work.
Really? He launched a product that every employee opposed. Even I, with no business experience, could see how reckless that was.
Then I noticed orders dropping, contracts being canceled one after another. And it turns out you've been signing new deals here. You all used dirty tricks to steal my clients.
Tom screamed, his face red with anger.
That's baseless. We conducted proper sales calls and pitched our products. They liked what we offered and decided to work with us.
Mark explained, but Tom wouldn't accept it, shouting,
"That's impossible. Thanks to you, our sales this quarter have plummeted."
That's rough.
What's with that indifferent attitude? You're one of my employees.
No, I'm not. Didn't you say you were glad the dead weight was gone when I left?
Tom was too stunned to deny it, his mouth opening and closing in shock. Just then, the CEO of Mark's new job, Ted, appeared, a younger, sharp CEO compared to Tom.
"Oh, you're from the company next door. Is there a problem?"
So it's you. You're the one stealing my clients.
Tom looked like he was about to lunge at Ted, but other employees managed to hold him back as Ted spoke.
"Claiming we stole clients isn't a good look. Thanks to our new head of sales, we've seen a big spike in contracts."
Head of sales?
Tom glared, wondering who it was, and Ted smiled and gestured toward Mark.
"That would be him. He's been outstanding. He studied our products even before joining and has a deep understanding of what makes them great. With his honest sales approach, clients are thrilled to work with us. We've even started partnering with companies we'd never imagined, which has been a blessing."
What? Are you talking about Mark?
"I hear he was once the top salesperson at your company. Despite his years, he's still got those skills. He's got a great eye for new opportunities, and he's brought in contract after contract. Frankly, he's become invaluable to us. With him leading our sales, we're in good hands."
Ted kept praising Mark with a smile, leaving Tom speechless.
And from what I've heard, your reputation is pretty bad.
What?
Tom tilted his head in confusion.
Word is you had your employee apologize for how you acted during that client outing, and it just ended up making the situation even messier.
Well, that was, I mean,
And I hear your sales tactics have bordered on intimidation lately. It's no wonder many clients have chosen to switch to us.
what?
Plus, they say the quality of your products has noticeably declined. I also heard you pushed a product that your entire team was against. If you don't listen to your employees, maybe you don't need them.
I'm the CEO.
At this, Ted's friendly expression turned sharp as he glared at Tom.
Being a CEO isn't about throwing your weight around. The CEO doesn't exist for himself, he's there for the employees and the company. A CEO who won't respect his team is just a bully.
Completely defeated, Tom slunk away. Afterward, Ted turned to Mark and said,
I'm so glad you joined us. Thank you.
which moved Mark to tears of joy. Hearing this story, I cried, too.
That's wonderful, darling.
And I have you to thank for encouraging me to switch to the company next door, Julie.
Well, I'm just glad they were hiring.
Switching industries can be tough, especially at his age, so having an opening at a competitor was a stroke of luck for my hardworking husband. A few days after Tom's outburst at Mark's new office, he showed up again. This time, he seemed truly desperate. In an unbelievable twist, he apologized.
Sorry, I was wrong. I'll reinstate you as head of sales. Please come back.
Nobody in their right mind would go back to a sinking ship.
Mark's blunt refusal left Tom speechless.
But don't you care if my father's company goes under?
Of course, that's disappointing, but I'll always carry his words with me. Do what you want. Work is meant to be enjoyed. Right now, I love my job. Even if I switched my job, I'll keep his words in my heart and give my best here, at my new company.
With confidence, Mark delivered his final words.
You jerk. You're nothing but a wig wearer.
Tom mumbled, making a last-ditch attempt to insult someone. Mark calmly replied with a smile.
This is my real hair. Besides, Tom, aren't you the one with thinning hair? Looks like stress has taken its toll.
With that, Tom was left speechless and slumped in defeat. Afterward, Tom's company lost more and more clients, and its finances fell into disarray. Eventually, out of desperation, he sold the company his father built. Can you tell who bought it? Mark's current company. It turns out his former colleagues had asked him to speak on their behalf. After selling his father's company, Tom squandered the money on a lavish lifestyle and quickly found himself penniless. With his terrible reputation, he's certainly not going to make it in the same industry. I have no idea how he plans to make a living now. Meanwhile, Mark's former colleagues have revived some of the great products from the former CEO's era and are happily enjoying their work.
That's great, darling.
Yeah, I wonder if the former CEO is mad.
Not at all. His legacy is being carried on, no matter what. I'm sure he'd be thrilled.
I hope so.
Seeing Mark smile as he headed off to work, I felt so happy, too.
Now then, I'll cook Mark's favorite dish tonight.
I'm going to keep putting in the effort to make sure my husband's smile stays bright.